A Lunatic's Laugh by S.T. Blake, published by Staline Publishing, 2022. Lily Ashler was an actor of limited ability who found fame in a play called A Lunatic's Laugh. Her mediocre talent led gossips to say she must have sold her soul for success. Then she disappeared from public view. When Lily dies, her granddaughter, Dominique, inherits her Gothic Irish mansion. Opposite the mansion stands a notorious asylum where the writer of A Lunatic's Laugh spent time as an inmate before he dashed his head against the wall, his blood and brains seeping into the stone. The writer's death led to rumors that he was a practitioner of black magic and that the asylum is possessed. Now Dominique fears the asylum is somehow laying claim to her, as she begins to suspect the nightmarish bargain Lily Ashler made for her stardom. This book has a strong premise and captivated me early on. The opening chapter sets an eerie tone, and the opening introduction to the main character Dominique was great. 6.5-year-old Dominique imagines a group of dolls hanging a 4-year-old named Benji and writes a story about it for a school assignment. When Benji's body is actually found less than 2 miles from the school, social services immediately gets involved. Dominique tells her therapist she's just good at guessing when people will die, and then offers to tell the therapist when he will die. I would have seen that as a red flag, but for whatever reason, the therapist says Dominique seems well enough. If the parents want to know more, though, he offers hypnosis therapy. Her mother scoffs at that idea and turns to the church for help instead. The priest is more open to believing Dominique and her visions, but in his mind, he sees them more as a gift than a problem. They set up weekly meetings for the priest to document things in Dominique's own words on any past and future visions. Then, we jump to the present with a now adult Dominique returning to her home after 12 years due to the death of her grandmother Lily, an eccentric actor. Lily leaves her mansion and estate to Dominique. But Dominique left this town without looking back for a reason, so she starts making plans to sell off everything so she can leave again. The book then leads us on a string of strange visions, hauntings, and groups tied to her grandmother and her budding acting career. We start to get flashbacks of the grandmother at the beginning of her acting career, laying the groundwork for what dark powers lay behind the sudden rise to success and the curses that follow throughout the family line. Then things get a little chaotic, but not with the storyline itself. We get slammed with multiple timelines of Dominique in current day, flashbacks to her childhood, flashbacks to the grandmother's new acting career, flashbacks to her grandmother as an elderly woman on the verge of death, flashbacks to the original priest, flashbacks to a new priest, flashbacks to the director of the play. And once you start to get a grip as to who's who and what timeline you're currently reading, you get flashbacks to the 1800s and the writer of the play itself. There's no apparent rhyme or reason to the flashbacks or whose point of view you're reading in, especially when the timelines begin to overlap. Starting out, I was beginning to care about Dominique as a character and getting invested in her. But then things got so busy that Dominique lost focus from the story. When we do get a rare glimpse back to the current day with Dominique, she has become oblivious. For example, at the grandmother's funeral, there are only 2 people attending. Then a group of 6 people show up at the back of the service, dressed in all black with wide-brimmed hats pulled down to conceal their faces. This never strikes Dominique as odd, even after encountering them a few more times throughout the book. In other scenes, we get told that Dominique is unable to remember her childhood, immediately followed by scenes of her childhood. Quite honestly, the structure of the scenes, flashbacks, and multiple timelines and point of views got to where it was aggravating to figure out the scene just for it to jump to somewhere else. The structure of the story made it impossible for me to care what was happening. The concept itself was a great idea. I just feel like the individual scenes could have worked if rearranged more cohesively, or if there was an apparent pattern to when they showed up, but there wasn't. That was the main issue that kept me from enjoying this book. I think the OCD side of my brain spent so much effort trying to put a pattern to the random timeline changes that I couldn't focus on the story itself. It's all opinion though, as I've seen this book get some strong reviews. It just wasn't a flow that I could concentrate on. That, coupled with not being able to get emotionally invested with any of the characters, made it an unenthusiastic read for me. With all that said, the gothic imagery and the use of visions, dreams, and dolls did make those scenes very creepy. The group itself that was pulling all the strings behind the scenes messes with some very dark magic with ties back to esoteric groups, and their integration within the community was very believable as far as how deep their reach was. In short, imagine a darkly beautiful jigsaw puzzle laid out before you. You can see all the individual pieces and know that when finished, the picture will be stunning. For me though, it was seeing the pieces scattered all around and the difficulty putting those pieces together in the proper format is what kept me from enjoying the story itself. Reading, am I right? It does have its ups and downs, I guess. Time to move on to the next one. Until then, find yourself a good book and enjoy a break from reality.